One. Good day, friend. This is the Healer and the Dreamer Astrology. We're doing a video on Pluto in Aquarius from 2023 to 2044. A new era is dawning. I'm Martin Comtois, and this is Dayana Robinson. And wow, Pluto in Aquarius. We've been seeing that one coming. And lots of press, it's been talked a lot about. And Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to get to talk about it for the next 21 years. And we've been talking about Pluto in Capricorn. So that should be very interesting, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, well, I think it is the beginning of a new era and interesting to look at.
It should shift the atmosphere quite a bit. We wanted to acknowledge we made it up to over 500. We're up to 506 since our last video. We got 10 more subscribers, so that's exciting. Thank you so much. We've been getting some great questions too. In our next following videos there, we'll be answering them. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for supporting the channel. And here, let's look at the next slide.
So it starts this year, but it's got some in and out, right?
So we were going to talk about Pluto in Aquarius 2023 to 2044. So we want to flesh out Hades, Pluto, the Lord of Hell, discovered in 1930, along with atomic energy and the beginning of quantum physics. So what is Pluto for you, Dayana?
Pluto for me is something I'm always trying to understand more and more, but I feel like it's definitely one of the harder ones to get. Reading the Astrology of Fate has been one of my greatest allies.
This is the most important astrology book you'll ever read. And right here, that's so the Astrology of Fate. And here you have the three fates. You have the spinner, the measurer, and the cutter. And then you have the astrological natal chart. And that's the cave to the underworld. And so I've read this one 8 times, and it is an adventure, and it transforms your life every time. So we'll get into it, but go ahead.
Yeah, that book is really what brought Pluto home for me.
Have you read it once already?
I've read it once through. I definitely think I'll have to read it a few more times. A lot, but it's amazing. And okay, so Pluto I associate with Hades. I also associate it with transformation, that which is dying to be reborn within us. And as a collective, because it is a collective planet, I also look at it a lot like that which is dying to be reborn within our society, and then bringing awareness to what's maybe below the surface.
You stole that line from me.
Well, the dying to be reborn, I did.
Yes. That's a good one. What is dying to be reborn in us? In the Astrology of Fate, Liz Green really gets into the details of Pluto. And Pluto, Hades, it's a masculine deity, but that's why I use this picture, of the crone or the great mother. She makes the case and the point that really Pluto is a feminine deity. It's the great mother, the ancestral mother, the original mother. And Pluto has a lot to do with the rage of the great mother, or the ancestral rage, and a lot of people, they take objection for me to using the word rage, because it's much stronger than anger. And to me, it's what we find in courage, right? When we have courage, we have the heart to face our rage, or the rage of the great mother. Was there anything more courageous than facing our ancestral rage, or the rage of the great mother? And so so to me, that's always what I associated with that transformation and that power source that the Great Mother has. And I always identify whenever we go through a Pluto transit, we go through the necessity to integrate our rage. You know, so I used to say that the Great Mother is dragging me by the hair, kicking and screaming. And then at a particular point in my process, I says, well, I better go willingly. It'd be a lot easier, you know? And so I think that whenever we go to Pluto transit, we meet that rageful Great Mother who's dragging us to our destiny, kicking and screaming. And so learning the lesson of Pluto and integrating that lesson, very important part of the evolution. And because Pluto is the furthest planet down, you know, so far away from the solar system, and she's the last one, you know, there's a certain, you know, fate or destiny. So in that book, she associates Pluto with Moira, or destiny, you know, or she uses also the goddess necessity, you know, and so the Greeks elevated necessity as the goddess, and where we meet necessity, we just need to do this, you know. It's not like we really have the choice, it's a necessity. And so fate and so is associated with Pluto a lot. Is that fleshing it out pretty good?
Yeah, I also see Pluto as like a huge powerhouse. Even though it's the farthest planet, it's got this immense amount of power. I guess that comes back into the fate, where there's this, like, sometimes in life there's just things you feel like you absolutely need to do in this lifetime, and there's a massive amount of power behind this drive or this pull or this like cosmic fate that you need to live out. And
Cosmic fate that you need to live out. I like that.
Yeah, it's recognizing the power behind it. And I think it's interesting that when we found it, we were also learning about this power that's hard to see, which is quantum energy, or also the atomic energy. And those are both things that are often what we find, you know, what I've witnessed in astrology is we look at what's happening in the world when we discover a planet, and because they were discovered around the same time, there's a lot of correlation between those two.
Also, the word Pluto. So Hades is the Greek word for Pluto, and then Pluto's the Roman word, Pluto. And Pluto translated from Roman into English means riches. So a lot of times I describe it as the treasure, or it's described as the treasure that lies at the end of the journey to hell. You know, Pluto is a journey to hell, and when we go through hell, you know, that process of Persephone going down to hell, that process, we come to the treasure hard to find. And what is that treasure? You know, that's down. It's our sense of power and our sense of destiny into what we're here to do. And that's the greatest gift that Pluto offers. So in that sense, Pluto means riches. There's great abundance, you know, and people going through Pluto transits, you see all kinds of things, you know, there's debts, but also I've seen a lot of my clients, women clients especially, well, obviously, have babies during a Pluto transit. Pluto transit is also very creative. It's like, you know, and if you think about it, you know, giving birth and becoming a mother is the death of you as a maiden and the birth of you as a mother. And so in that sense, these deaths, this what is dying within you so you can be reborn to a higher octave of expression of who you are, that's the process of Pluto, and there's great riches in that. Of course it can be terrifying as well, or it is terrifying. Going to hell is never easy.
Definitely.
Okay, so then we fleshed that one out pretty good.
I think so. Yeah, I think yeah, that key part of dying to be reborn and reintegration, and when you let go and release, then it gives birth to new. It's really key for Pluto's energy.
Perfect. And so then we had the Baba Yaga picked a picture of that. And then the sign of Aquarius, the water bearer ruled by Saturn and Uranus. So what is Aquarius? You know, and so, yeah, what is Aquarius to you?
To me, Aquarius is, well, it's the water bearer. It's an air sign. But as the water bearer, I see it as like water being information, and Aquarius being its main affirmation, as I know, is to like be sharing or pouring over information. And Aquarius is usually ruled by like a bit of this dualistic nature, and I see that as the dualistic nature of Saturn and Uranus being its co-rulers. So Saturn being about order and structure, and in the picture of Aquarius, I really relate Saturn to like the vessel, and Uranus to like the water or the information coming from the vessel. And so there's the structure and containment, and there can be a lot of structure with Aquarius energy, but then there's also this like liberation, free chaos energy, or seeing things 20 years ahead and wanting that to happen now, and having this kind of futuristic, what's this word I'm looking for? Not idealism, but kind of getting into that.
Aquarius is very idealistic. You know, it's a water, it's you know, it's the water bearer, but this water is not kind of like a Pisces or a Cancer water or a Scorpio water. This is the water of life. This is really an idea. It's like the aqua vitea that the alchemist, you know, it's the water of life. It's the water of inspiration. It's an intellectual idea, you know. And so what is the ideology beyond Aquarius? Well, one, it's an ideology, but it's the idea of a utopic, you know, group that forms the group in which I belong. And so when we study Aquarius, we have to study Leo. Every sign is a reflection of its opposite. So Leo is about the individual, and Aquarius is about its community. The individual, if it doesn't have a community, an audience, then it's very lonely. And it's the same thing with Aquarius. If it doesn't respect the individual, then also it becomes kind of a tyranny. So that's like the drawback, you know. And we're talking about the age of Aquarius, and then we looked at the Saturn-Uranus square over the last few years. So this is something that we've been fleshing out for a while already. And, you know, with this age of Aquarius, there are those people who think that this Pluto in Aquarius is going to really stimulate this need to grow, you know, this Aquarian archetype or myth. But the problem with Pluto coming into a sign and being into a sign is that usually it causes the death of those, you know, like we've been experiencing Pluto in Capricorn, and it's really messed with our Capricornian values. And so now we're going to see Pluto in Aquarius, and that's going to be very interesting. Now there's a transition period here. You want to show that? It
feels like with this Aquarius, like with Pluto coming into Aquarius, as we start this age of Aquarius, it's like what you're saying, but this what needs to be like what needs to die to be reborn before we can truly enter this new age, which is exciting and also slightly terrifying. But yeah.
So then Pluto's journey into Aquarius. So, you know, whenever we talk about Pluto, we talk about a really big lens, right? Because Pluto has a 220, 230 year cycle, and we're going to be diving into that more. So on March 23rd, right after the equinox and the new moon in Aries, we're going to have Pluto ingress into Aquarius. Then on May 1st, it'll turn retrograde, and on June 12th, so March 23rd to June 12th, Pluto will be in Aquarius. Then it will leave again back into Capricorn, till January 22nd, 2024. And then with the retrogration again, then by September 3rd, it'll re-enter into Capricorn. And then it'll leave again. Oh, and then it'll re-enter again. So there's one date missing there.
Well, this is when it re-enters.
Right. So these are the dates. So March 23rd to June 12th, June 22nd to September 3rd, and then it will re-enter again on the 20th of November 2024 for good. So we're going to get this, swinging back and forth. And that's going to be interesting because it's going to get us to focus on Capricorn and Pluto in Capricorn, and then also Pluto in Aquarius. And these changes tend to be quite significant in the collective. They're like eras. So in our next slide, we break that down for you.
See how that back and forth period can look like.
So these are the eras of Pluto. We go back about 100 years. And we see, well, now we're looking at Aquarius we'll start from the bottom. So Aquarius 2023 to 2024. And then we add 44, sorry. And then we add Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn from 2008 to 2023. By the way, here we have Pluto with his three-headed dog, Cerberus. Interesting, the Lord of Hell. Doesn't look like a happy fellow. And so then 2008 to 2023. So what was your experience of Pluto in Capricorn? That's really fresh to us.
Me? Pluto in Capricorn, I look at it like the destruction of not archetypes, but structures in society. So 2008 and the economic collapse, I feel like is one of the most pertinent parts, the beginning of that. And then just seeing how we look at authority structures. So a lot of truth is coming out about what happens behind the scenes with power and the cruelty and unfortunate things that have happened that way. And then also a lot of uncovering of even just how we structure ourselves in society. So like the nuclear family is dying and what that looked like, and how we relate to each other as a society is changing quite a bit, and then to each other as different. It's
also all, Capricorn rules what we, the forms in our society, so the institutions, so the educational, the medical, the governmental institutions, which are the foundation of our society. All of that is crumbling, to a level that we've never really experienced. We were talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about how really, how do we remember ever things being this bad? It's like, whoa, there are so many structural problems, and so then Pluto in Capricorn, all these structures are crumbling. Interesting, when Pluto comes into Aquarius, it seems like the ideology behind the structure needs to be redone, and Pluto's about Capricorn's about creating structure, and Aquarius is about recreating those structures or understanding what's wrong with them. And so being ideological, I think that it's already starting to be like an ideological crisis, like what, why is it gone so bad, and we keep doing the same insane stuff and expect different result? It seems like, Pluto in Aquarius is going to force a redefinition of what our ideal is, and so it's going to be a spiritual crisis on a quite an interesting level.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting that we just had Saturn come through Aquarius, and I feel like that might have been a bit of a prelude as to what's coming this next 2 decades. The last couple of years, as Saturn again about kind of authority and structure and co-rules Aquarius, seeing it come through, and now it's gonna like Pluto, I feel like, is gonna come through and clean up what didn't get addressed.
Well, we also had the Maxima Conjunctio. We had the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at the beginning of 2021, which was really significant. You know, this is a very, very important astrological event that keeps repeating itself. And so it was also in Aquarius.
And that's a 20-year cycle too, right?
That's a 20-year cycle, but Jung says some very interesting things about the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in his book Eon, which we're doing a study of with our friend Ina, and so we'll be talking about that more as we go along in this series that we're doing on the book Eon by Carl Jung. So anyway, blah blah blah, that was a commercial. Go and check it out.
It's neat always to get to hear how Jung connects it, though. I like that.
Well, that book Eon is far out. It has so many interesting astrological insight. But let's go back to the dates here. And so then let's look at the age of Sagittarius, the era of Sagittarius, 95 to 2008. So then Pluto in Sagittarius, what did that feel like to you? What do you think we draw conclusions from that?
I feel like I might have been too young to have big conclusions. I mean, I think of 9/11 changing how we travel, and Sagittarius is about travel. And then I also think about during that time I moved across country with my mom. But on a global thing, I think I was too young and I haven't studied much. What do you notice about
That's
that
good.
time?
That's really good, you know, because in 2001, travel in the world became a different story. You could go to the States with a driver's license before that.
Wow.
You know, you could walk across the border almost, you know, without no questions asked. And you can still do that in some places, as the migrants are doing. But you know, that Pluto in Sagittarius, also Sagittarius is about spiritual belief, you know, it's about what is the highest good. And so then really that went through a really big shift, you know, with everything that went on leading to 2008. And I think that it was a lot of the disillusionment with the common spirituality and also an empowering of alternative spiritualities. It was a very interesting time for sure, huh? Okay, let's look back into, then we had, before that, we had Pluto in Scorpio. Now, you're born with Pluto in Scorpio, right?
Yeah.
So lots of really, you know, millennials are born with Pluto in Scorpio.
It's like pretty much exactly what they call the millennials there. I think it's from like 85 to 95 is what they say.
Well, it's also, you also have the Uranus Neptune conjunction that describes that. You can stay with that slide for a while here. So Scorpio 83 to 95. So then, you know, that we have the AIDS, but then we also, you know, Pluto rules Scorpio. You know, we had the fear of nuclear war. We had the breakdown of the Soviet bloc, you know, so Pluto and Scorpio, and people with Pluto and Scorpio tend to be really intense. And Scorpio is in square to Aquarius. It's a fixed sign. So it's interesting, you know, lots of similarity with Aquarius and Scorpio. Then Libra, 71 to 84. Like Pluto and Libra, you know, it's like it really changed the way we interrelate with each other. You know, there was a lot more innocence before the 70s, you know, and then when the 70s, you know, I think the 70s, the Libra era is the death of innocence. You know, it's like all of a sudden, you know, by the time Pluto came into Scorpio, there was no more innocence, you know. It was, you know, it was way different. And then we had Pluto in Virgo before that, you know, which was this Virgo ideal, you know, kind of died. And then we had Pluto in Leo, World War I, and Pluto in Cancer, World War II in Leo, and World War I in Cancer, you know, so we can start seeing these Pluto eras. I'll post this slide in the comment in the breakdown of the video, so if you want, you can see it. Or also, you know, whenever you see our slides, you know, you can go off screen.
Take a screenshot.
No, you know, any of our videos, I do a PowerPoint presentation, and if you want that, I can easily send it to you. Just drop me an email, and I'll send you those files if you want them for your studies. Be happy to do that, and so grateful for you to support that our channel too in our effort. So we looked at 2 slides so far. We looked at the coming in and out of Pluto in Aquarius back to Capricorn. Now we looked at the different eras. Now we're going to, so how are we doing so far?
I think we're doing good. Yeah, I think we're getting more and more understanding of Pluto and how it's affected society over the years.
So then our next slide, very interesting. Now we're going to be looking at,
I guess one quick thing I'd note here is what I keep hearing and noticing is that this era here, the Pluto in Leo, is where we saw a huge, as this generation became older, this is where we saw a huge focus on the healing the parental wounds and proper parenting and all this kind of like trying to heal the family. And I think that's interesting because Leo and Cancer, but especially Leo, is really connected to family.
that's really important, you know, and let's stay here for a while.
Yeah.
This means that if you were born between 37 and 58, you're gonna get a Pluto opposition. You know, and I did a chart for a lady that was born in the 40s just recently, and she's getting ready to have her Pluto opposition Pluto, and that's very rare. And the reason for that is that if you notice, you know, Cancer, it's 27 years. Leo, it's 21 years. Virgo, it's 18 years. Libra, it's 13 years. Scorpio, it's 12 years. Sagittarius, 13 years. And then Capricorn, 15 years. And then Aquarius, 20 years. So wow. From Leo to Aquarius, see, the Scorpio generation will experience the square. You know, so that usually, because in the other half of the zodiac, so in this half of the zodiac, Pluto moves really fast, because Pluto, you want to go back to screen? Pluto, so the sun is the center of the zodiac, and Pluto as an ecliptic, where so it goes really closer to the Earth, and then when it goes back into Pisces and and Aries, and then in Taurus, spends 20 almost 30 years in Taurus.
Wow.
And so it's really much further. It has an ecliptic that's kind of like much fatter on the other side. And so then then we'll see this later. I'll show you the next slide and you'll see what I mean. So this next slide here is Pluto in Aquarius. So 2023 to 2044. Then we have Pluto in Leo, 37 to 58. Then we have Pluto in Aquarius again, 78 to 98.
So we're going back in time here.
And then Pluto in Leo, the last time before that is 1693. So if you look at it, So Aquarius to Leo, so 37 to 23, that's not quite 100 years, huh?
No.
But
90.
then if you go to Pluto in Aquarius to Pluto in Leo, it's
Over.
almost 170 years.
Yeah.
So from Pluto to Leo, from Aquarius to Leo, it's 140 years, and from Leo to Aquarius, it's barely 100 years, or it's not even 100 years. So the first half of the zodiac, or the half that we just experienced. So that means that the square of Pluto for those in Scorpio will come really early in life. Whereas during those generations before that, you didn't have your Pluto square till your 50s.
Wow.
Now you're going to have your Pluto square natal Pluto in your 40s and in your 30s. And so that's really big. Also, experiencing a Pluto opposition, it's very rare. So then there's so then the Pluto generation and the
Leo?
folks that Leo generation, they're all going through their Pluto opposition.
So we're talking people in their 80s, 90s now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Extra fun time to be alive.
Well, those are a very significant time for these people.
Yeah.
And and for the Aquarius, the Scorpio generation and that Pluto square. So if you're born during those dates, what was it again?
I think it was 83 to 95.
83 to 95.
Yeah.
You're gonna have, and the Libra years are also gonna have their Pluto.
They just had it.
Yeah, they had their Pluto square. So that's very interesting, isn't it? Okay, and so let's go back to this next slide. Okay, so then now let's look at that Pluto in Aquarius 2023 to 2044. Then we look at Pluto in Leo. And those 20 years, that's World War II, that's the Korean War, that's the Chinese Revolution, that's the rise of communism, that's the beginning ground for Vietnam. That's like, wow, that's a really, really important technologically, everything that happened, Pluto and Leo, and Pluto came into Leo, so that means that right now with Pluto coming into Aquarius, Pluto's in direct opposition, so that that Pluto in Aquarius starting to feel a lot like the Pluto and Leo that we experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe this would be a bit more about like the death and rebirth of our individual self and creativity versus our groups, organizations, communities.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Now, to compare our Pluto in Aquarius to what's going on right now, we have the Pluto in Aquarius of 1778 to 1798.
That's a cool time.
That's a very, very intense time. That's a time where, the steam engine and really the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, but it's also a deeply spiritual revolution. It's the freedom. 1778 is right at the end of the American Revolution, and a few years after that. So 1778 is the end of the French Revolution, and 1778 is the end of the American Revolution, and 1798 is the very end of the French Revolution. So you got two of the greatest freedom movement, and both of those wars were quite brutal, and they were changing points in the universal arrangement that were quite significant, just as Pluto and Leo was. And then we go back to Pluto and Leo in the 1693 to 1711. We don't have as much information about that, but what was going on then?
I don't know much, but I do know that when I study these tissue salts, this is the area that it came out of, was the Pluto and Leo, end of the 1600s, beginning of the 17th century. This is where Dr. Carey did a lot of work. Homeopathic medicine had just come out in the forefront, and then tissue salts came subsequently after. So there's a huge medicine revival. This is also the time, isn't it, when the Christian Reform happened?
No, that's Pluto in Aquarius.
Oh, before
1532 to 1551. You know, so then in Pluto, so the last, so two Pluto in Aquarius back, you have the Copernican revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So that the Copernican revolution is when Copernicus and Kepler and Brahe came up with the idea that the sun was actually the center of the universe, not the earth. That's major shift in consciousness.
Wow.
Then we had the Renaissance, which was created by the sack of Constantinople. Constantinople fell in the late 15th century, and all the library of the Byzantine Empire came to Italy and caused the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is the return to the ideas of the Greeks and the beginning of a real alchemical, you know, you had all kinds of really trippy dudes at that time, Marcino Filippo or Filipino or something like that, and Felici, and also you had Da
Vinci?
No, well, I think maybe that was the time of Da Vinci, but also well, Bruno and all of these trippy dudes, but you also had I think Meister Eckhart, but you also had a fellow that Jung talks a lot about, Paracelsus, the father of modern medicine, and the guy that said that you don't need you know, to you know, a big pharmacy. All you need is a garden. And you know, and so that was a very important time. And then we had the Reformation, which was, you know, a huge shift in Christianity. And then you also had the printing press. So that's like really the beginning of our modern times. And then we had a Uranus Pluto conjunction at that time that was really important. So that's a lot of information, but it kind of, you know, let's look at that again.
I do. And you can see how it piggybacks on each other, hey? So if we had this like simplicity of medicine, food is medicine, doesn't have to be so overwhelming. And then we get the development of homeopathy on its opposition, which is the energy medicine. And then we come into this, and I don't actually know this.
This is an ideology, you know, we got, you know, we break out of feudal systems into democracy, you know, and then right after, you know, so this is a huge time, you know, Pluto in Aquarius, and then the Pluto in Leo, you know, the 30s to the 50s. And then now we kind of get an idea of what this next Pluto in Aquarius. Let's look at the other slides before we end the video. So then we went through the different eras, and then let's go back to and then we saw how, you know, March 23rd to June 12th, January 22nd, 2024 to September 3rd, and then November 20th, 2024, Pluto goes into Aquarius. So that's the transformation when you're looking at. And so we'll post those files in the description of the video. And how do you feel about this video, my dear?
Good. So what do you think's gonna, so we have the first 3 months here, or the next 3 months. Pluto will go into Aquarius, and then it's going to go back, and then it's going to go back in next year and go out for a little, but be for the most part in Aquarius for the better part of next year. What do you think kind of changes do you might see this next couple of years? We might see.
Well, you know, the only thing that we can really remember, you know, well, you know, if you're a little bit older, you've experienced Pluto shifting signs a few times, right? And then we can look at that information, you know, and start doing some research, you know. And that's one of the things I wanted to say is that, you know, this is a really big scope. You know, we're looking at 2023 to 2044. We're going to get 20 years to really review these notes, you know. And then so this is only the first video of many videos on Pluto and Aquarius. And one of the really important events will happen in 2025 when Pluto comes into Aquarius, and then Uranus comes into Gemini, and Neptune comes into Aries, and all of them will form this exact triangle that is really the next big outer planet alignments. And so that's all happening together. Every one of those planets will be at 1 degree Aquarius, 1 degree Aries, and 1 degree Gemini, all in the summer of 2025. So we're going to talk lots about that over the next couple of years. We started a video series called the Triad of Transformation. I'll put this video on that as well as well on the playlist of the Astrology of the Great Reset. So that, you know, so those, you know, so those are longer range. So what are we going to see immediately? That's a really good question. There are other factors. We looked at one, the Saturn in Pisces, which is a major factor, and I'll put a link to that video at the end of this video. And then we're, of course, shorter range. We have that Jupiter Chiron conjunction, but I think the Saturn Neptune, the Saturn Pisces conjunction, and what's interesting too, that triangle that I was talking about, well, Saturn will meet Neptune right at that time. So we'll have Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto in this powerful little triangle. And so to me, as Pluto comes into Aquarius and goes back and forth, it's kind of be like a preparation. And I fully anticipate a change in the psychic atmosphere. And kind of like, you know, you go to the movie theater, and at the beginning of a movie, they give you the previews of coming attractions.
Yeah.
Well, this little window here from March to June, that's a preview of coming attraction. Pay attention to what's going on. And we're going to be doing this. We're going to be covering this, you know, as we go, you know, because we, you know, astrology, we, in terms of understanding the spirit of our times, you can use a really wide lens, or you can do a short lens, you know. So in our new moon and full moon videos, we just look at the new moons and the full moons. And so the lens is really focused on what we're going through. But then when we go into collective astrology like that and collective movement, you know, we looked at the last 500 years in this video, you know. So then to know what's going to really happen in the course of the next few months, preview of coming attraction. And so, and it's really important, you know, because it's easy to say, you know, it's going to be like this or it's going to be like that, you know, and it's easy to look at it as a really good time or to look at it as a really bad time, but really it's probably going to be really good for some people, and it's probably going to be really bad for other people. And that really depends on your own subjective point of view. But if you're going to be objective about it, you know, then we can look at what happened the last 2 times Aquarius, Pluto was in Aquarius, and we saw tremendous collective change in both of those seasons. So then,
Big
because
revolution.
Aquarius being so collective and the significance of Aquarius, then I think that it's fair to say that this is going to be a tremendously important time, just like the French and the American Revolution, and just like the 16th century there, and all that happened in that century there, were in a pretty hot spot. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think is going to be happening?
I think we're going to see massive collective revolution. And I've been trying to find an analogy since I started studying this about a week, like really studying the last couple weeks, last week more. And it's like, I don't know how to say, I still haven't found an analogy, but I'm going to try. So if you go to the thrift store a lot and you're gathering things, at one point you realize you have too much stuff. You either get rid of everything or get rid of what you don't need, or you have to learn how to reorganize. And I think that there's going to be a huge reorganization of how humans work on, with, and of Earth. And I think it might happen quick in some ways. And I also see this medicine, and maybe it's just because of me and my subjective opinion of watching medicine and human health and bodies, because it's one of my big passions in life. But this human medicine aspect that seems to be really a new revolution that changes how we experience our bodies and our reality here is this new medicine forming of energy medicine. And it's definitely what's become more and more popular, is that to heal, it seems like it's about sound and frequency. And so there's this aspect of coming to this like Aquarian age of using sound and frequency to do our healing versus the tangible, practical things that have been so focused on in the past. So I'm excited for that change, but also, yeah, excited and have my apprehensions at the same time.
Well, I think that these realizations, these higher, octave of realization of the Pluto and Aquarius is accessible to those who have done the work to get their antenna high enough to pick up on that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're in the lower octave of expression of Pluto and Aquarius, chances are that it's not going to be so good. It's, there's a real dark aspect to it,
That
and
Saturnian quality.
and if we just look at the state of our world right now, in the first world, we're not doing too bad. But in the second and the third world, oh my God, this is really, really difficult. And I think those are the people that are going to rise up and get real pissed off, And we see, they're all migrating, getting out of it, because we've been abusing these parts of the world to support our first world reality. And so I think that that's really what's dawning on the first world, is the reality that we've been, excuse my French, but we've been fucking on the other 2/3 of the world so badly that now we cannot support our economy the way we used to by keeping 2/3 of the world in slavery. They're rising up, and their conditions of living are no longer sustainable. So then, this big inflation that we're seeing and all these, this is not just simple solutions. Pluto and Capricorn, all of our structures are broken down. Yes, we talk about globalism, but the practical fact of the matter is that, in a sense, it's no longer a viable thing. It's not viable. Globalism is only viable for the rich. If you can't feed yourself, then what happens then? We're just going to let them die? So there's some really serious challenges that we face. And so I don't think it's going to be easy. But yes, I think that if you can create solutions to the problems through an Aquarian, and create and be the voice and tell a different story, I think that that's going to be a really important part of the times, for sure.
I like it. Just to bring it home into your own chart and into our charts. So it's going to be hitting 0 degrees this year. And then next year works up to, I think, 1 degree. And then we go into Aquarius as it.
Any big Pluto transits for you in your chart?
1 degree of Aquarius in my chart, I believe, is in my second house.
Mm.
Yeah.
I have my moon at 8 degrees of Leo, so not right away, but 2027, I think. I get Pluto opposite my moon, and that's going to be pretty intense.
Do you have anything at 0 degrees of Leo or Aquarius?
Well, right now, Pluto's been squaring my Venus for a while, but that's just coming to an end, and that's been really difficult. And then I think that I'm done really with big Pluto transits for a while. Anyway, this is like astrology jargon,
Yeah.
and some of you, if you watch this long, you're getting exactly what we're saying. We're so appreciative of your support and that you're listening to our videos. Please share, please subscribe to the channel. This is the Healer and the Dreamer Astrology. The Healer and the Dreamer weaves an insightful tapestry using astrology, alchemy, dream work, and the analytical psychology of Carl Gustav Jung to bring the clarity to the path of self-realization in our modern times. Reach out. My email is spiritofthetimes108@gmail.com, or just comment on the comment section of the video. We'll answer all of those. And then day-to-day healing at Gmail if you want to connect with Dayana. I'll put a link to that Saturn in Pisces. That's a really important video for you to watch. And then also, we're going to be doing a video really soon on the equinox and the Aries new moon, the first new moon of the astrological year. So that'll be fun. That's our next video. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. MC Starman here with my pal, you're the co-pilot, or you're the pilot, actually.
It flips and flops.
And she's been feisty like anything today. So good.
I want to say it's a full moon tomorrow, but take care and be well, everyone.
It is a full moon tomorrow. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.